Hey, Reddit. I never thought I'd be one of those guys sharing a cheating story, but here we are. I don't even know why I'm posting this. Maybe because I need to get it off my chest, or maybe I just want to hear from people who don't think I'm crazy for feeling the way I do. Either way, buckle up because this is going to be a wild ride. I guess I should start with a little background. My name is Adam, I'm 34, and I've been married to my wife, Lisa, for 7 years. We met in our late 20s, and honestly, I thought I had hit the jackpot. Lisa was beautiful, confident, and had this way of making you feel like the most important person in the room. Looking back, I realized she just knew how to make people want to impress her, but at the time, I saw it as charm. Lisa always had high expectations. She wanted the perfect house, the perfect vacations, the perfect life. And I wanted to give that to her. I worked hard, sometimes too hard, to make sure she got everything she wanted. But no matter what I did, it was never enough. If I worked late, I was neglecting her. If I took a break, I wasn't ambitious enough. If I bought her something nice, I was wasting money. If I didn't, I was cheap. You get the idea. Now, before you ask, no, our marriage wasn't always miserable. There were good times. Otherwise, I wouldn't have stayed so long. But looking back, I can see how she always had to be the center of everything. If I was sick, she was more sick. If I had a bad day, hers was worse. If I was excited about something, she found a way to one-up it. And yet, somehow, I kept telling myself this was just how marriage worked. Then there was Ethan. Ethan and I had been friends since college. He was that guy who could walk into any room and have a new best friend in 5 minutes. Funny, charming, always the life of the party. Lisa loved him. In fact, she loved him a little too much, but I ignored it because, well, he was my friend. And she was my wife. What could go wrong, right? Turns out, everything. But I didn't see it at first. Lisa was always flirtatious. She flirted with everyone, so I convinced myself it was harmless. And Ethan? He had a new girlfriend every few months, so I assumed Lisa was just another ego boost for him. I trusted them. I trusted her. Then things started getting weird. Lisa suddenly had a lot of complaints about me. More than usual. Everything I did was wrong. The way I folded laundry, the way I drove, the way I chewed my food. It felt like she was looking for a reason to be mad at me. And every time we argued, Ethan's name would come up. Ethan would never say that to a woman. Ethan actually listens when people talk. Ethan knows how to treat a lady. It was subtle at first, but after a while, it became obvious. She was comparing me to him. And I was always losing. One night, I asked her outright if she had feelings for Ethan. She laughed in my face. Oh my God, Adam. Don't be pathetic. Just because he's more successful than you doesn't mean I'm sleeping with him. I hadn't even mentioned success. But that comment, it stuck with me. And then came the night that changed everything. I was supposed to be out of town for work. Lisa knew this. She had been excited about it. Almost too excited. But at the last minute, my business trip got canceled. I didn't tell Lisa right away. I figured I'd surprise her and maybe take her out for dinner. I picked up her favorite takeout, grabbed a bottle of wine, and headed home. That's when I saw Ethan's car in our driveway. At first, I told myself I was overreacting. Maybe he had just dropped by to say hi. Maybe he and Lisa were talking about something innocent. But something in my gut told me otherwise. So instead of walking in the front door, I went around to the back, where our living room windows were. The curtains weren't fully closed. And what I saw, it made my stomach drop. Lisa, on the couch, with him. And trust me, there was no way she could talk her way out of this one. Hey, Reddit. It's me again. I didn't expect the first part to blow up the way it did. But I appreciate all the support, and the well-deserved, wake up, dude, comments. A lot of you asked what happened next, so here it is. When I saw them through the window, I froze. My brain just stopped working for a second. I must have stood there for at least a minute, trying to convince myself that I wasn't actually seeing what I was seeing. But there was no mistake. Lisa was on the couch with Ethan, way too close for it to be anything innocent. She was laughing, leaning into him, her legs draped over his lap like it was the most natural thing in the world. And Ethan? He had his hands on her thighs, whispering something in her ear that made her giggle. I wish I could say I reacted like a rational person, but let's be honest, who would? My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped the food I was holding. My stomach twisted into knots, and for a second, I thought I was going to throw up right there in my own backyard. 1,000 thoughts ran through my head. Should I barge in and call them out? Should I wait and see how far they take it? Should I grab Ethan by the collar and throw him out of my house? In the end, I did the only thing I could think of. I walked through the front door like I didn't know a thing. The moment Lisa saw me, she jumped up like she had been electrocuted. Ethan, on the other hand, had the nerve to act casual. He just leaned back against the couch like he was hanging out in his own house. "Oh," Lisa said, forcing a smile. "You're home early." I didn't answer right away. I just stared at her. Then I turned to Ethan, my so-called friend. "What are you doing here?" I asked, keeping my voice calm. Ethan grinned, completely unfazed. "Lisa texted me, said she was bored since you were out of town, so I figured I'd keep her company." I looked at Lisa. "You texted him?" Lisa shrugged like it was no big deal. "I didn't think it was a problem. I mean, he's your friend. Why are you acting weird?" Acting weird? I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something. But I knew if I lost my temper, she'd just twist it around and make it my fault. So instead, I walked over to the couch and set the takeout bags down on the table. Then I looked her dead in the eye. "Are you sleeping with him?" Silence. Lisa's eyes widened, and for a split second, she actually looked guilty. But then, right on cue, her expression hardened, and she let out a dramatic sigh. "Oh my God, Adam. Are you serious?" She crossed her arms, like I was the one who had done something wrong. "You are so insecure. This is exactly why our marriage is falling apart." Falling apart? News to me. Ethan, still lounging on my couch, decided to chime in. "Dude, relax. Nothing's going on." I ignored him. My eyes stayed on Lisa. "Answer the question." She scoffed. "No, I'm not sleeping with him. But honestly, the fact that you even have to ask says a lot about our relationship." There it was, the classic Lisa move. Deflect, shift the blame, and make me the bad guy. I should have expected it. I really should have. But somehow, hearing her say it still felt like a punch to the gut. "You know what?" I said, my voice tight. "I think you're lying." Lisa rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. Grow up, Adam." And that was it. That was the moment something inside me snapped. I turned to Ethan. "Get out." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Seriously?" I clenched my jaw. "Get out." For a second, he just sat there, like he actually thought he had the right to stay. Then he sighed, stood up, and grabbed his jacket. "All right, man, whatever." As he walked past me, he had the audacity to pat my shoulder, like I was some sad little kid who didn't understand how the world worked. Then he strolled out the door like nothing had happened. I turned back to Lisa. She was furious. "Way to embarrass me," she snapped. "You just made everything so awkward for no reason." "No reason?" I repeated, laughing bitterly. "Lisa, I just caught you practically cuddling with my best friend." She threw up her hands. "Oh my God, Adam. It was just a friendly conversation. Do you seriously not trust me at all?" I stared at her, and for the first time in 7 years, I really saw her. The way she twisted the truth. The way she made everything my fault. The way she refused to take responsibility for anything. And suddenly, I realized something. I didn't love her anymore. I didn't even like her. The woman standing in front of me wasn't my wife. Not the woman I thought I had married, at least. She was someone else entirely. And I was done trying to convince myself otherwise. So I took a deep breath and said the words I never thought I'd say. "I want a divorce." Lisa's eyes widened. "What? You heard me." For the first time that night, She didn't have a snappy comeback. She just stared at me, speechless. And for a moment, I wondered if she finally understood that she had pushed me too far. But of course, this was Lisa. And if you think she just accepted it gracefully, well, you don't know my wife. Alright, Reddit. Here we go again. I left off at the moment I told Lisa I wanted a divorce. If you thought she would take it like a rational person, you clearly don't know my wife. The second the words left my mouth, Lisa's expression twisted into something I'd never seen before. Shock, anger, maybe even fear, but not the kind you'd expect from someone who just got caught betraying their husband. No, Lisa wasn't afraid of losing me. She was afraid of losing control. You're being ridiculous, she scoffed, folding her arms. You're seriously throwing away 7 years of marriage over some harmless flirting? I laughed. Harmless? Lisa, I caught you draped all over my best friend like a lovesick teenager. She rolled her eyes. Oh my God, Adam. You are so dramatic. I swear, you make up these insane stories in your head and then act like they're reality. There it was again. That smug, dismissive tone, like I was some irrational child she had to deal with. But I wasn't playing her game anymore. I'm not making anything up, I said. I saw what I saw, and honestly, even if you weren't sleeping with him, the way you act around him is enough for me to be done. Lisa scoffed. Oh, please, you'll calm down in a few hours and realize how stupid you sound. No, I said firmly. I won't. For the first time, I saw a flicker of uncertainty cross her face. I don't think she ever actually believed I'd stand up to her. To Lisa, I was always the guy who bent over backward to make her happy, who apologized first, who let things slide because I hated conflict. Not anymore. Fine, she snapped. You want a divorce? Go ahead, but don't expect me to make it easy for you. I shook my head. Of course not. She stormed off to the bedroom, slamming the door behind her, leaving me standing in the living room, exhausted. The next few days were a blur. Lisa and I barely spoke, and when we did, it was tense and cold. She still hadn't admitted to anything, still insisted that I was the one overreacting. But she knew I was serious about the divorce, and that's when she switched tactics. At first, she tried sweetness. She started acting like the perfect wife, cooking my favorite meals, asking how my day was, even apologizing for hurting my feelings. It was so fake I could hardly stand it. When that didn't work, she moved on to guilt tripping. So you're really going to throw our marriage away? She asked one night, arms crossed. Over nothing? You cheated on me, I reminded her. I did not cheat on you, she snapped. You're just insecure. You always have been. Then came the blame game. You know, maybe if you paid more attention to me, I wouldn't have needed to find comfort in someone else. She spat one night. Maybe if you weren't so boring, I wouldn't have needed Ethan to make me feel special. And there it was. I stared at her, stunned. She must have realized she had said too much because she quickly backtracked. I didn't mean it like that, she stammered. I'm just saying, you've been so distant lately. I've been distant? I cut her off. Lisa, I work my ass off to give you everything you want, and this is how you repay me. She crossed her arms, pouting. Well, someone had to make me feel wanted. That was the last straw. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. I'll be filing for divorce this week, I said. You can either make this easy, or you can make it messy. But either way, I'm done. Her eyes narrowed. You really think you can just leave me? Watch me. I turned and walked out, ignoring the sound of her throwing something at the wall behind me. I had finally done it. I was leaving Lisa, but I had no idea just how ugly things were about to get. Hey, Reddit. I'm back. I thought telling Lisa I wanted a divorce would be the hardest part. I thought once I made my decision, things would move forward, and I'd finally be free from her. I was so wrong, because if there's one thing I should have known by now, it's that Lisa doesn't lose. At least, not without making it as painful as possible for everyone involved. The manipulation begins. The morning after I told Lisa I was filing for divorce, she acted like nothing had happened. She got up, made coffee, and even hummed to herself while scrolling through her phone like it was just another normal day. Meanwhile, I barely slept. I had spent most of the night lying awake, wondering what fresh hell she was going to unleash. I didn't have to wait long to find out. "You should stay at a hotel for a while," she said casually over breakfast. "It'll give us both space." I raised an eyebrow. "Why would I leave? This is my house too." She smirked. "Because I need time to process everything. And honestly, I think you owe me that much after how horribly you've treated me these last few weeks." I almost laughed. She needed time to process? "Lisa, I caught you all over Ethan on our couch." She rolled her eyes. "I already told you, nothing happened. But sure, go ahead and keep punishing me for something I didn't even do." There it was, the victim act. Lisa wasn't the bad guy. Oh no. In her mind, I was the one destroying our marriage. "I'm not leaving," I said firmly. "If you don't like it, you can go stay somewhere else." Her face darkened. "Unbelievable," she muttered. Then, just like that, she stormed off, slamming the bedroom door behind her. I should have been relieved that she was giving me the silent treatment. But something about the way she smirked before she left made me uneasy. Lisa wasn't done. Not by a long shot. The lies began. That afternoon, my phone started blowing up. At first, it was just a few messages. Then more. Then my mom called. Then my sister. I finally answered, and the first thing my sister said was, "What the hell is wrong with you?" Confused, I asked her what she was talking about. That's when she told me. Lisa had been calling everyone. Our friends, our family. Telling them I was the one who wanted the divorce because I had cheated on her. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I could, because this was exactly the kind of thing Lisa would do. But still, hearing it out loud, it felt unreal. "She's saying you've been sneaking around for months," my sister said. "That she tried to fix things, but you just gave up on the marriage because you're selfish." I laughed bitterly. "Are you seriously believing this?" "Of course not," she said. "But Mom is freaking out. And a lot of people are taking Lisa's side." Of course they were. Lisa had always been great at playing the innocent victim. And since I wasn't the type to air dirty laundry, people assumed she was telling the truth. The worst part? She even convinced some of my own friends that I was the bad guy. The revenge phase. After her little smear campaign started, Lisa went from playing the victim to full-on sabotage mode. She started making my life miserable in every way she could. She accidentally locked me out of the house twice, forcing me to wait outside for hours until she decided to let me in. She started blasting music at night so I couldn't sleep, then complained that I was being unreasonable when I asked her to turn it down. She even hid my car keys one morning, making me late for work, just so she could smirk and say, "Oops, must have misplaced them." And when none of that got a reaction from me, she went for the nuclear option. One night, I came home to find Ethan in my house. I walked through the door, and there he was, sitting on my couch like he belonged there. Lisa was next to him, sipping wine, looking smug. "Hope you don't mind," she said sweetly. Ethan and I were just catching up. I clenched my fists so hard my knuckles turned white. Ethan just grinned. "Hey, man, no hard feelings, right?" I stared at him. "You're kidding, right?" Lisa sighed dramatically. See? This is why I had to find comfort elsewhere. You're so uptight all the time." I saw red. "You brought him here?" I asked through gritted teeth. "To our house?" Lisa smirked. "Well, technically, it's about to be my house." And that's when it hit me. Lisa wasn't just messing with me. She was trying to push me out. She wanted me to snap, to lose my temper, to do something that would make me look like the bad guy. She wanted proof that I was the unstable one. But I wasn't going to give it to her. So I took a deep breath, turned on my heel, and walked out the door. I heard Lisa call after me. "Where are you going?" I didn't answer. I just kept walking, because at that moment, I knew exactly what I had to do. It was time to stop playing defense. It was time to fight back. All right, Reddit. It's time for the next chapter of this nightmare. If you've been following along, you know my wife, Lisa, cheated on me with my so-called best friend, Ethan. When I confronted her, she gaslit me, blamed me for everything, and then tried to destroy my reputation by telling everyone I was the cheater. And just when I thought it couldn't get worse, she brought Ethan into our house, while we were still living together. That was the moment I realized I had been playing this all wrong. Lisa wanted to push me over the edge, make me look like the irrational, unstable one. But instead of taking the bait, I walked out. I wasn't going to react emotionally. I was going to beat her at her own game. Step 1. The legal move. The first thing I did the next morning was call a divorce lawyer. I didn't just need any lawyer, I needed a shark. Someone who had seen every dirty trick in the book and knew exactly how to counter them. After a few recommendations from trusted colleagues, I found Mark. Mark was in his late 40s, no nonsense, and the kind of guy who looked like he enjoyed tearing apart manipulative spouses in court. I met with him that afternoon, laid everything out, and asked, "How'd I get out of this with as little damage as possible?" Mark leaned back in his chair and smirked. "Oh, buddy, you're about to make her very unhappy. First, he advised me to stop engaging with Lisa altogether. No more arguing, no more reacting to her drama. Every time you respond emotionally, she wins," he said. "So from now on, you're ice cold." Next, we started gathering evidence. I showed him texts, emails, and even security camera footage from our doorbell cam, because guess what? The night I caught Lisa and Ethan on the couch, my camera caught Ethan arriving when he thought I was out of town. I also pulled my financial records to prove that I was the one who had been supporting our lifestyle while Lisa spent money like it grew on trees. Then came the house situation. "Lisa thinks she's going to kick me out," I told Mark. "What are my options?" Mark grinned. "Let's make sure she's the one who has to leave." Step 2. The power shift. That evening, I walked back into the house like I didn't have a care in the world. Lisa was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She barely glanced up when I walked in. "Oh, look who decided to come home," she said mockingly. "Did you enjoy your little tantrum?" I didn't react, didn't even acknowledge her words. I just walked past her, set my bag down, and went straight to the bedroom. That threw her off. She was expecting a fight. Instead, she got nothing. The next few days, I stuck to my lawyer's advice. I didn't engage with Lisa at all. I moved around the house as if she were invisible. When she spoke to me, I gave one-word answers or simply walked away. And let me tell you, Lisa hated being ignored. She started trying harder to provoke me. One night, she accidentally spilled a glass of wine on one of my work folders. Another time, she unplugged my phone charger so I'd wake up with a dead battery. She even went so far as to start bringing Ethan around more often, making sure I saw them laughing together in the living room. But no matter what she did, I didn't react, and it drove her insane. Step 3. The final blow. A week later, Mark called me. "Good news," he said. "Based on your financial records and the evidence we have, we can push for Lisa to move out immediately." Apparently, since I was the primary financial provider and she was the one causing emotional distress, we had evidence now. My lawyer could argue that Lisa was the one creating a hostile living environment. And just like that, I had my trump card. That evening, I walked into the living room where Lisa was stretched out on the couch, sipping wine. "I need you to start packing," I said calmly. Lisa blinked at me. "Excuse me? You have a week to move out," I said, handing her a printed legal document. "My lawyer has filed the necessary paperwork. You can either leave peacefully, or we can let a judge decide." She snatched the papers out of my hand and skimmed through them. Her face went pale. You can't do this," she stammered. "This is my house too." "No," I corrected. "It's our house. And since I'm the one paying for it, and you are the one bringing your affair partner into it, the court will see things my way." She was furious. "This is insane. You're seriously kicking me out over a stupid misunderstanding?" I just shrugged. "It's already in motion. You can fight it, but you'll lose. She was seething. I could see it in her eyes. But for the first time in our entire marriage, she had no power over me. And that was the best feeling in the world. Lisa stormed into the bedroom, slamming the door behind her. I could hear her muttering curses under her breath, probably trying to figure out her next move. But it didn't matter, because this time, I was winning. Hey, Reddit. I'm back. Last time, I officially turned the tables on Lisa. I ignored her mind games, got my lawyer involved, and legally forced her to move out of our house. For the first time in years, I wasn't the one bending over backward to make things work. She was the one scrambling. But if you thought Lisa would accept defeat gracefully, you clearly don't know her. She had one last trick up her sleeve. The fake apology. The night I handed Lisa the legal documents, she locked herself in our bedroom for hours. I half expected her to smash something out of anger, but surprisingly, she stayed quiet. Too quiet. When she finally came out, her entire demeanor had changed. Her anger was gone. Instead, she looked sad, vulnerable, even a little desperate. I didn't trust it for a second. Can we talk? She asked, her voice soft. I folded my arms. Talk about what? She sighed, rubbing her temples like she was so emotionally exhausted. About us. About everything. I said nothing, waiting for her to continue. She took a deep breath. I messed up, Adam. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, now she was admitting it? I was selfish, she continued. I let my emotions get the best of me, and I hurt you. But I swear, I never meant to. I just felt like you weren't there for me anymore. There it was. Even in her apology, she had to make it about me not being enough. But I didn't take the bait. I just stared at her. Lisa shifted uncomfortably. I don't want to lose you, she whispered. Can we at least try to fix this? I almost laughed, not because I found it funny, but because it was so predictable. The second she realized she couldn't manipulate me anymore, she switched tactics. She thought if she played the regretful, heartbroken wife, I'd suddenly forget about everything and beg her to stay. Not happening. I took a slow breath. Lisa, I said calmly, you're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry you got caught. And you're sorry that I'm finally standing up for myself. Her face twitched, just for a second, but I saw it. The mask was slipping. Are you seriously going to throw away 7 years of marriage? She asked, her voice shaking. I'm not the one who threw it away, I said. You did. The moment you let Ethan put his hands on you. Her jaw clenched. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. I cut her off. You wanted me to feel small. You wanted me to feel like I wasn't good enough. And when I finally had enough, you tried to turn everyone against me. Lisa swallowed hard. She hated that I wasn't falling for her act. I took a step back. This conversation is over. You have 1 week to move out. For a split second, I saw something flash in her eyes, pure rage. But she swallowed it down, forcing a weak smile. Fine, she said, her voice dangerously calm. But don't think for a second that I'm going to make this easy for you. Lisa's final meltdown. The next few days were tense. Lisa knew she had lost control, but she still tried to make my life miserable before she left. She started throwing away my things, claiming it was by accident. She took down all my framed photos and replaced them with her own. She even deleted shows off my streaming accounts, just to be petty. But the worst? The night before she was supposed to leave, she got drunk. I came home from work to find Lisa sitting on the floor of our living room, surrounded by empty wine bottles. She had mascara streaked down her face, and she was staring at her phone like she was trying to will it to ring. I sighed. Lisa, what are you doing? She looked up at me, eyes red and puffy, waiting for Ethan to call. I frowned. What? She let out a bitter laugh. Didn't you hear? He dumped me. I froze. Ethan dumped her? Lisa wiped at her eyes aggressively. He said I was too much drama. Can you believe that? After everything I gave him? I almost said, yeah, Lisa, I can believe it, but I kept my mouth shut. She sniffled. I thought he actually loved me, you know? I shook my head. Lisa, Ethan never cared about you. He just liked the attention. And now that he's ruined our marriage, he's moving on. She stared at me. So what now? She whispered. You move out, I said. And we never speak again. She swallowed hard. And you're okay with that? I nodded. I've never been more okay with anything in my life. Her face crumbled. Wow, she muttered. You really don't love me anymore, do you? I didn't answer. Because she already knew the truth. Lisa sat there in silence for a long moment, then let out a shaky breath. Okay, she whispered. And just like that, the war was over. The aftermath. The next morning, Lisa packed up her things and left. She tried to make it dramatic, lingering at the door, sighing loudly, waiting for me to stop her. But I didn't say a word. I just stood there, arms crossed, until she finally walked out. The second the door closed behind her, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Relief. For the first time in a long time, I could breathe. No more fights. No more gaslighting. No more walking on eggshells. I was free. A few weeks later, the divorce was finalized. Lisa tried to milk me for money, but my lawyer shut that down fast. In the end, she walked away with nothing except the clothes on her back and the realization that she had lost everything. As for Ethan, last I heard, he had already moved on to a new girl. Lisa was just another name on his list. And me, I moved on. I focused on work, reconnected with friends, and actually started enjoying life again. Looking back, I don't even recognize the guy the first was when I was with Lisa. I was trapped, and I didn't even realize it. Now, I'm just glad I got out. And if there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's this. Never ignore the red flags. Because if someone shows you who they really are, believe them. So, in the end, Lisa lost everything. She cheated, lied, and manipulated, only to be left with nothing. Ethan, he moved on the second things got complicated. And me, I finally got my freedom. The divorce is done, and for the first time in years, I feel at peace. My biggest lesson? Never ignore the red flags. Walk away. Respect yourself. Sometimes, losing someone is actually the best thing that can happen to you. Thanks for watching. What would you have done in my place? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.